In this stream, I'm going to show you how to design composables that are actually flexible, clean, and fun and easy to reuse. You'll learn some scalable design patterns that actually help you create reusable composable components. We will cover slot APIs, modifiers, theming, configurations, and more by using real code. And stay till the end as I'll reveal some cool stuff that you might like. Now, I have prepared some stuff here. We are going to start by creating this card. And before I reveal too much, let's actually take the simplest approach that we can to create this composable. So here inside Android Studio, I have created already some structure. I'm going to push this project later on and I'm going to link it in the description below. And I've already introduced, as you can see here, we have interesting font and it is already added in the project. So let's start off by creating this composable, and I'm going to call this info card. And that's going to be a composable that will be named info card. And I'm straight away going to create a preview for it so that I can see what I'm doing. I usually make the previews private functions. I'll use this the theme that is already coming with the project. I haven't created anything specific for now because that's not what we are going to be talking about today. And I'll say Navigator theme, and inside I'm gonna put the info card. So far, so good. As for the card, let's see again what we need to do and how we are going to approach it. Basically, on the top, we can create a row. Then below, we can add this text and then one more text below that. So should be straightforward. Let's create here a column, and then we are going to organize the column a little bit later. Then inside we have a row that has horizontal arrangement space between. Then I think the content inside that row should be vertically aligned to the center, and this one will go throughout the whole thing. Modifier fill max width. Now inside this row, what I do have is a text that says weekly goal. And then I have a button. On click for now does nothing. And inside it has a text that says create new goal. And since the button is basically a row, we are inside the row scope now. If I add one more thing here, it's gonna add it at the end. And in this case, I'm going to add icon, and it will be icons, auto mirrored, field, keyboard arrow right, and content description null for now. I know this is bad practice. We should always do take care of the content description, but for now we are doing something different. So that would be my button, although I will need to change some colors for it. And then below that, below this row, I have a text that says NA, and it is a little bit bigger. So for now, I'm gonna say style is going to be material theme, typography, and that would be title large. And finally, I have that last line where the text is you haven't created any goals yet. So now let's build and refresh. Let's see what we've got. Almost there. Now let's actually fix the styling so that we are going to have the appearance that we want to. First, I'm going to start from here. I'm going to add a modifier. And on this modifier, I'm going to add first, I'm going to clip it with rounded corner shape, and that one was I think 8 dps in Figma. Then once it is clipped, I'm going to add a background, and I'm gonna copy the background from here. I have it, so I'm just gonna hard code it for now. And then I do need to add some padding. I think it is 16 dp in Figma. Now we are getting closer to what we saw. The texts are not correct, the color. It should be here color. I'm gonna hard code white, and I'll do the same for this text. Well, this is inside a button. Okay, well, for the button, I'm gonna add colors here. Button defaults, button colors. Now, here, container color is going to be, again, I think it's gonna be color white, and then content color is the same as the background. So I'm going to copy this, paste it here, comma, then on click. Yeah, that's what I want. Then I have here this color white, not there, but here. I'm gonna move this in new lines so it's gonna be easy to reason about, and same here. Cool. Now let's take a look what we've got. We are pretty close to the design, so the spacing here seems a bit wrong. We can fix that so first, I think the spacing here is a little bit, this NA is being pushed because of the button. The button doesn't look pretty good. So what I'm gonna do is here in the column, I'm going to add vertical arrangement spaced by, I think I'm gonna do 12 dp, something like that. And now as of the button itself, I couldn't make it smaller, but the first thing that I would like to present here would be how this content color and container color are being provided, how we can do something similar. So here we can use surface, And the surface allows us to apply some colors. Basically, like as a content, it's going to provide them through composition local. We don't have to think too much about it for now. So here I would just say the color is going to be, because it's going to add some background, the color will be color transparent. And then the content color will be, I want the content color to be the color of these two. And then the color of the button, I can think about it later. So the content color is going to be this one. And then inside here, I'm going to create a row where I'm gonna pass a modifier that will clip with rounded corner shape of 50. It will apply a background that is going to be color white. So I'm trying to recreate the button, but with different spacing here. Then I think it has to be clickable, and on click, we are not gonna have anything just yet. And then here, I'll add some padding, and basically only horizontal padding. And that padding, I'm gonna make it 12 dp. And then inside this row, now I can add the text and the icon, and I can, that's basically the button that I'm looking for, and I can remove that one. Okay, so far so good. I think now we are closer to what we are seeing here. Now, what is the problem with this composable that we have created right now? In terms of reusability, so this is naive approach. This is basically where we start anyway. This is a good start, but how we are going to think about reusability. So all these colors and text is basically can be pulled out in the function, and it could be, we can make some defaults and then we'll be able to change. But is that scalable? Is it scalable enough? So one problem here is that if I call this info card and I'm calling that from here, I cannot change anything. So the rule number one when creating custom, especially reusable composables, is to provide modifier API. So we have to be, like, in order to be able to control a little bit the appearance of this composable, I need to have a modifier. That's one. Then I need to have control of the, we can easily, for example, start off by extracting this. So the text can come as a property. That's cool. So here it will be, let's say, I'm going to name this title text, and that automatically adds it here, but it doesn't add it with a named argument, title text. Then, as I said, modifier. Now, when it comes to modifier, the problem we have to figure out, is this something that we are going to be, that we need to be able to control? Is this okay to have it as default, or can we control it in a different way? So for example, here, if I want to have more control, like if this is okay, but I want to add additional control, I can wrap this column into yet another parent that's gonna have a modifier that will be provided. Before it gets confusing, let's actually first introduce a modifier here. So here I'm going to add an argument, modifier, and by default it's gonna be modifier. And I want that to be first. Okay, to start revealing a little bit. So this is the Figma design that we have created, but basically it turns out that we need to support multiple versions of that card, like this one, and this one. And the idea is to make what we started with reusable, and how easily we can do that, and like how we can think of scalability. So that's what we want to do. I would like to start talking about what are the actual problems that we are having right now. First, I started talking about a modifier. Now, I have a modifier here, but it's not applied, and basically I couldn't control anything. Now, there are two ways of approaching this. If I want to have more finer control, I can wrap this into a column that is going to take the modifier that comes in. That's one. But for now, for this API that I have to work on, as I have seen here, it's okay, because like this padding, I can still configure it, like the rounded corners and stuff like that. I can use the modifier that comes in and apply, flip with the rounded corners, apply background, and add padding. And by the way, these 1, 2, 3 properties, or the values, I can control them in a different way, and part of the idea behind this stream is to show you how. So bear with me. Next is, so we extracted modifier, we extracted title, we have to move on with the rest of the things, and that would be, here I have a create new goal, so that one would be also, I guess, button title. So we can extract it to, let's say, button title, and let's see here, yeah, it works, button title. Next up would be this NA. We can call it, let's say, amount, and I'm gonna extract this one. Well, before extracting this one, actually, let's take a look a little bit more. And one more thing that I want to do is this button is clickable, and here we said it's gonna be clickable, and it will call. Often what I'm seeing when I'm looking at code bases from people, here would be something like on create new goal click. So this is accurate according to the current UI, but the problem is it is literally coupling us with the actual implementation inside. And when we are thinking about scalability, the key is to think about how we can actually make this more sort of reusable. So in that sense, if I also take a look back to the design, we have create new goal, we have update weekly goal, update wait goal. So the click action should be something like on click, basically. And this card has only one click, but if, for example, we had multiple actions, then we can have on primary click, on secondary click, and so on and so forth. Depends on the API that you are doing. Now, on click, here gonna be on click. And ultimately, this one, I was thinking about extracting it, but if we take a look in the design, we have in the first one, we have you haven't created any goals yet, and there is no progress. In the second, there is that one and a progress. In the third one, there is that one without progress. In the fourth one, there is progress without label, meaning that this is pretty much dynamic content. And then the second thing that I wanted to present here was the slot API, what they are considering, or it is called online from what I'm seeing in code bases and talking with people, they call it slot API. Basically, nothing new, nothing weird. If you just create, let's say, a row, you are passing content down the row with a slot, basically. You just create a slot and then you can pass whatever you want. So in that sense, what we are going to create here is I'm going to introduce here a slot. So it will be something like content, and it will be composable type that will yell unit. Then we have the on click. And here I'm going to render that content. And I'll take this, and here I'll do, it's going to be my text that used to be there. And then I have on click. So far, so good. Nothing changed in our composable so far. It's still good. And then how do we make this, how do we bring this to the new level? Like, for example, now with the colors, let's analyze a little bit. So here we have green background. So we have background that changes. Then we have the color of the text. Although we have two colors, like white or black, we can expose, let's say, background color that will default to green, and then we can have, like, for each card, when calling that, we can have different color. And then the same for the rest, for the button, for example, for the content inside the button. And for the rest of the items, we can do the same. But because we're gonna have, like, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 colors approximately, maybe it is an idea to group them together. And basically, again, this is not something new, but this is something that comes from Compose SDK, and we have to leverage. We can do something similar, and that's called configuration. So we can have default colors configuration, and we can have default shapes configuration, and we'll see all of them in action as we go. So far, what we've done is we introduced the modifier, we introduced slot. Now we're gonna do the configuration. To add a configuration, usually the way to do that is in the same file, we are going to define an object, and this object, usually I want to call it the name of the composable defaults. So in this case, info card defaults. And then inside, I'm gonna have an immutable data class that will be called, let's say, colors. And then what I've got is I got background color, then I have title color, then what else? Button color and button content color. Then we have amount color. So we don't necessarily need to define all of these, but we want to be flexible with them. And then we can default them, and we'll see how to do that. But we are sort of adding the flexibility to change any of them independently if we need to later on. And then content color is gonna be a color that we will use for these, for the slot. So far, so good. Then I couldn't default them right away here because this is not composable context. And for that, we are gonna do a composable function that we can call colors, and it will create colors. So in this case, we're gonna have background color. Well, I'm gonna take all of these to save a little bit of time, and I'm gonna remove these. And this is going to be, this is fine, but it should be here. And then I can do here return colors, or I can directly say equals colors. And then I'm gonna have background. Yeah, let's move them into new lines. Cool. And another thing, when you're working in Compose code, maybe if you want your code to look a bit better, maybe here you can change the indentation to less. And then when you reformat, it's gonna make the indentation a bit nicer. Now, let's actually default these to something. So here we have the background to be this. So the background color in the colors is going to be that one. Then title color by default is gonna be color white. The button color, it is going to be also white. The button content color is basically our background color by default. Of course, we can change it when we call this function. The amount color is also color white. This is just a way to show you what we can do, what are the possibilities. And I'll do this one also color white. Cool. And now that I have defined the color defaults, what I would do here after the click, I can say colors, which are gonna be my info card defaults colors, is going to be info card defaults colors, like that. And I'm defaulting already, so then I can use these colors to change stuff inside. So these ones will be colors background. And so far, as we can see in the preview, nothing changes. Then what else we are having here is the text. This color will be colors title. This one will be colors button content. Then we have background here. It's gonna be colors button color. Then these ones I don't have to change. Then I have the text. This one will be the amount. And for the content, how am I going to provide? So basically here I am saying color white, but I want to provide an API that will change the color by itself. So the same way that the button does or some other composables that are having default. So how we can do that? Again, the same trick that we've done here with the surface, we can do here. We can wrap that in a surface. So it will be a surface, and this one will be the color is going to be color.transparent, but the content color is going to be my colors content color. And then I'll render the content, and boom, so far so good. Now, this is pretty decent. And additionally, we can, like if you want to, well, let's first maybe create these other ones to see how easily we can recreate them. Now that we have this info card as a reusable composable, let's see what are the possibilities. So what I'm going to introduce here, I'll make a column so I can list them one after another. And I'll actually make this spaced by 24 dp so I can. And then another one will be, what is my second one? My second one is this. So current steps count, it will be this one. Current steps count. Then update weekly goal. This one is 52.74K. And then the content, your current steps progress. Now what I can do here is I can say colors is info card default colors. What I could do is I can change the background, and let me copy it from somewhere. Not that function, but colors, the function, and then I can change one independent. And now as we take a look, we are pretty much there. We only need to add this progress bar. So how do we add the progress bar? Basically here we can add linear progress indicator. That's the API that I was looking for. Let's do some changes. So first of all, as you can see, it is appearing on top rather than below this. I can directly say here, column, text linear, and then it's gonna put them one after another. As of the values, first I need to give it a modifier, fill max width. The progress is going to be 0.7, let's say. Doesn't matter for now. So the track color is going to be, let's say, color white copy 0.3f, so 30% opacity. I think it should be the track color. I don't want to draw this at the end. If you can see it, there is this little dot at the end. I don't want that, so I'm gonna say draw stop indicator empty lambda. It's gonna remove, and then this gap is basically what's left, and that gap is gap size. It will be 0 dp, but it doesn't look right because of the way it is drawing like these rounded corners. So to change that, I have to use the stroke cap. The stroke cap, I think it should be, but then we lost the rounded stuff on the edges, as you can see on the sides. And then also the track color is cool, but what about this other color? So color will be color white, full opacity, so that's closer. And then also I can do on the modifier, I can do fill max size and then clip with rounded corner shape 50. So now the corners are nice, as you can see, and basically we get closer to what we wanted. Oh, there is a little gap because I was doing that myself, doing in Figma, and stay with me, I'm gonna share you something cool at the end. But yeah, I was doing this myself, so I wasn't able to move it a little bit up. But like, yeah, if you want, we can add that gap here by doing vertical arrangement spaced by 16 dp or whatever spacing we need. We can do that. For now, I'm just gonna remove it, and yeah, we're pretty close with the design. One last thing is now here, this linear progress indicator, I'll have to also be able to change the things, and basically the only thing that changes is the color, as I can see. The rest is the same, and I can also extract this into reusable composable. So I can take this, and just above here I'll create composable progress indicator. For example, I'm going to expose a modifier, the current progress, which is going to be a lambda that will produce float, and a color. Now as you can see, in this case I have only the color is something that changes. I'm going to wrap my linear progress indicator into that, and here I'll just do progress equals progress. The track color is going to be the color, and the color is going to be the color, and everything else remains the same. I have to use that modifier. I don't need much of configurations or something like that. This is going to do the job. So like what I'm saying is be mindful when creating the reusable composables. Also, like we are going to get to a little conclusion at the end on what to pay attention when doing this. When providing the content, as we see here, our preview is our tester of the API. We have to pass linear progress indicator, or in this case, I can change this to just progress indicator. I need modifier, progress, and color. So whoever is going to call my reusable composable, in this case the info card, will have to supply progress indicator if they want to, and then the progress comes there. So like from the perspective of my reusable composable, I don't care. Okay, now we have that progress indicator reusable, and now let's actually proceed with adding these other info cards, and let's see how hard or easy it will be. So here I'm gonna add one more info card, and now if I go back to my design, in this case the title is current weight, my button title is create new goal, amount is 91.4 kg, and then my content is you haven't created any weight goals yet, and then on click click will be nothing. Now as of the colors, then I will do colors, well, info card, defaults, colors, background is going to be white. And now nothing works, obviously, but then I have to change the colors of the rest of the things so that it's gonna work. So the title color is gonna be color black. The amount color is gonna be color black. Content color is also gonna be color black. And then what else do I have? I have button color, and that one was boom, easy peasy. So my reusable composable is working okay. And then one more, title, button title, amount, content, progress indicator, fill max width, and progress. Then on click, empty. That's pretty much similar, only the background color should change, colors. And yeah, we've got pretty much the preview that we want. Awesome. So now the preview here is acting as, for us, it is providing us a way to see how easy it is to reuse our composable. Next up, I mentioned at the beginning that these things, I am using the modifier straight away, and I'm clipping and adding background and padding. The background you already saw, but how can I change these other things if I want to? Well, that might be a nice take-home exercise, but let's actually do that together. So what I would do, immutable data class, let's say sizes, and then corner radius in DP, padding in DP. And again, I'm gonna expose a composable function, font sizes, and then here I would say values. And these are gonna be, by default, the corner radius is gonna be 8 DP, and this one is going to be 16, and this will create sizes. And then here I would also do sizes, and then here I can use sizes corner radius and sizes padding. Now again, I went back to fully customizable. Now we finished with the whole thing that we wanted to do, and as I said, I'm gonna push these changes to the repository. The repository is already on GitHub. As a recap, we've done the modifier, we added the slot for content, and we add configuration. Basically that's it. Now there are some things that are pretty much static, so like we couldn't go full-blown customizable because there has to be an end somewhere, right? And we have to figure out from the design to analyze a little bit and to see what are the things that are sort of static and what are the things that change. So for example, here the title on the left and the button on the right, well, they are always on the left and on the right. Then this one is always below, this amount is always in the middle. As a recap, always pass modifiers so that you will be able to change the appearance of the reusable composable. Use the slot APIs for content that is dynamic. Then favor configuration over branching logic. What I could have done is I could have added a lot of if else, or add lots of defaults here in this one. But when you favor configuration, you're making more sort of logical units and you have nicer defaults, so to say. So you're basically hiding the complexity behind good defaults. So as a conclusion, I would say give them just enough flexibility, but not full freedom. What I showed you today comes from years of trial and error building reusable composables. It's not something that I saw yesterday. As we saw from the latest developments at Google and JetBrains, they double down on Compose, and the future of Android is that our applications are going to be expected to work on multiple screens. You need to optimize for different sizes, which means this mobile is not going to go anywhere. People are just going more and more to mobile, and the whole thing gets to mobiles. In that sense, don't worry about Android. And for those that are serious about Android and Android development and the future of it, you can join us into our community, which is also linked below. And if you are committed, you are always welcome to join us.